4. The chain of being. The great chain of being concept moves towards this identity, but definitely does not possess it. There is a hierarchy of being with a thinness of being in most places and a concentration of being at other points. This greater immanence of being can be manifested in a monarch, in reason, or in a class or a people, or it can be manifested in the collective whole of humanity. But wherever manifested, this being is law beyond appeal. It is possible for the future to see a further development of being, but for the present there is no appeal beyond the law of manifest power and being. The powers that be are a supreme court against which there is no appeal. Queen Elizabeth was declared to be beyond all law. The Persian monarch was bound by law, but it was his law, issuing only from him, so that he was bound to himself, to self-consistency. The concept of the continuity of being, therefore, is incapable of producing other than a totalitarian order, whether it be a monarchy, an aristocracy, or a democracy. The high point of being is manifested in the social order and is total law. Apart from it, men have no true being. They are outlaws, mentally sick or socially maladjusted. They are seen as incomplete or deformed human beings whose only hope is conformity to the continuity of being in its present manifestation. The only hope such an outcast can have is that, however deformed he may be in terms of the present, the next development of being might be his vindication. Although the freak of today, he may be the standard form of being tomorrow. Thus, Aristotle was interested in freakish births for this reason, and as Cornelius Van Til has pointed out, the Greeks were interested in Paul's teachings on the resurrection for the same reason. They believed in the mysterious universe. They were perfectly willing, therefore, to leave open a place for the unknown. But this unknown must be thought of as the utterly unknowable and indeterminate. This same Greek concept, in a Gnostic version, is the foundation of the thinking of Erik Voegelin, who reads history in terms of the concept of the continuity of being and sees progress in terms of the leap in being. This is, of course, a totally relativistic concept. Truth is what the incarnate or manifest being of the day determines it to be. It then changes with the next leap in being. Stalin was the incarnate truth for his day, and Khrushchev, with his variations, is a truth of being for his era. When Khrushchev criticized Stalin on February the 25th, 1956, a question quickly arose as to the infallibility of the dictatorship of the proletariat, the incarnation of manifest being, in view of these criticisms of Stalin. Was not the infallibility and authority of the party endangered by this speech? This impression was subsequently corrected by Khrushchev. Aspects of Stalin's leadership which were incorrect for the present had their place in terms of Stalin's day and must be seen in historical perspective. Accordingly, Khrushchev concluded, Stalin will take a due place as a dedicated Marxist-Leninist and stalwart revolutionary. Our party and the Soviet people will remember Stalin and pay tribute to him. This same concept of history was read into American history by the U.S. Supreme Court under Oliver Wendell Holmes, whose concept of the law saw law as the dominant mores of the people. Truth, therefore, was pragmatic, democratic, and relative. Basic to this position was an acceptance of evolutionary thought, and evolution is simply a modern application of the concept of the continuity of being to the problem of origins. In the ancient Persian version, the kingship of God is present on earth in the state, and the glory of God is possessed by the monarch. The great king personally represents God on earth. He is both man and God, continuous with both deity and humanity, and it is important for men to be incorporated into his being by the rites of unity, in particular the royal feast and the robe of honour. This concept of divine kingship has been a continuing aspect of Iranian history. It is an important aspect of Akbar's decree of 1579, making him Caliph of the faithful, one directly inspired of God, the rightful heir of the kingdom of God, and the Caliph of the age. This ancient concept of the kingdom as one body of continuous being between God, the king and the state, and his people is important, for in its modern form it is a doctrine of the corporateness and completeness of humanity. The high point of being in its developments is man, and all law is of man and for man, according to this faith. Humanity, therefore, must be one and undivided, and no law can be imposed upon it save its own will, as manifested in an elite or in a consensus. Thus, the ancient empires of Egypt, Assyria, and other realms have their more modern and more thorough counterpart in the dreams of a one-world order